This evening, I want to start off by introducing myself. Some of you do know me and some of you don't. My name is Joe Gonzales, and I am a commercial banker with Vera Bank, and I have the privilege of serving as the chairman of the board of directors for the Hutto Area Chamber of Commerce. Tonight, it is truly an honor to welcome you to the City of Hutto's State of the City. When you step back and look at where Hutto stands today, it's remarkable. We are no longer a small town hoping for growth. We are now a city actively shaping it. And shaping growth requires, in this day and time, discipline, transparency, and long-term thinking. Over the past several years, we've seen meaningful expansion in residential development, commercial investment, infrastructure planning, manufacturing growth, and small business formation. We've welcomed new employers, we've strengthened our schools, we've deepened our partnerships across Williamson County and Central Texas. But what makes Hutto special isn't just the growth, it's alignment. And I've been hearing this word quite a bit this year, and it's starting to resonate day in and day out. Here, it's a city council working alongside economic development leaders. It's a chamber that advocates for business. It's entrepreneurs willing to take a risk. It's families choosing to plant roots here. It's manufacturing choosing Hutto because they believe in our workforce and our future. From my perspective, both as a banker working daily with business owners and as someone deeply invested in this community, and I've been invested in this community for quite a long time, what is happening in Hutto is intentional. Growth here is not an accident, it is being stewarded. And today is about clarity. Clarity on where we are, clarity on where we're headed, and clarity on how we have moved and will move forward together. Because growth without direction creates friction, growth with leadership creates opportunity. Now, before we get into the city leadership, it is important to recognize one of the key engines behind business advocacy and community momentum in the great city of Hutto, Texas, our very own Hutto Area Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber plays a critical role in connecting entrepreneurs, supporting small businesses, advocating for pro-growth policy, and ensuring that our city expands, our business community expands with it. To give us a very brief State of the Chamber update, please join me in welcoming someone who works tirelessly, and you guys know who she is, on behalf of our business community and the Chamber of Commerce, Billie Logiudice.
Welcome, everyone. This is a great turnout. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being invested in the work that's happening in our community. I've been here since 2000, and so I've seen incredible growth and transition, and it's great to have this conversation today. So the Hutto Area Chamber of Commerce continues to serve as an advocate for local businesses like you all, representing more than 445 members across diverse industries. Our priorities remain focused on business growth, community connectivity, and strategic advocacy, ensuring that Hutto remains a thriving place to do business. Our 2026 priorities revolve around advocacy and education, fostering business growth, connection and collaboration, and supporting economic development and growth. Over the past year, the Chamber successfully launched several new initiatives, including small business workshops that are providing specific and intentional education in the areas in which small business members have shared they struggle most. Workforce development, including a focus on defense and aerospace manufacturing as a spaceport hub designation in Central Texas and Williamson County. And these additions are expanding engagement and visibility for our members. So we want to do what we can to connect you with people you need to know or that need to know you and get you in spaces that it's going to be meaningful for you and your business. So looking ahead to 2026, our goals are to grow and retain membership, elevate the Chamber's role as a trusted business resource, and strengthen partnerships and support long-term economic development and workforce readiness. And those are all of my personal favorite things. So if I don't know you, if you're not a Chamber member and would be interested in learning more, I would love to connect with you.
Thank you, Billie. Greatly appreciated. One of the biggest reasons that our chamber has actually grown this last couple of years has been because of the inclusion and, of course, the hiring of some very good staff. And that staff definitely includes Billie. She has done an incredible job with us. I am sure the community knows who she is, has seen her work, but she is one of the biggest reasons that our chamber is what it is today. So, Billie, thank you. The chamber's work is foundational. Strong cities require strong business ecosystems, and that alignment between public leadership and private enterprise is what allows a community like Hutto to thrive. Now, as we shift from the state of the chamber to the broader state of the city, I want to frame today's discussion in a way that keeps us focused. Growth is exciting, but growth also requires discipline. It requires infrastructure planning. It requires responsible fiscal management. It requires workforce development. It requires thoughtful zoning and long-term vision. And yes, it requires access to capital. So for the bankers in the crowd this evening, that is a big plus for us. And of course, continued investment across the board. Today isn't just about celebrating wins. It's about understanding the strategy, understanding the pressures, understanding the opportunities ahead. With that said, it is my privilege to transition us into the state of the city. Here, and Mr. Mike Snyder, where are you? I'd like to introduce Mr. Mike Snyder, the mayor of the city of Hutto, to begin our State of the City and the program this evening. Mike.
I hope I don't mess this up. I'm not very technologically inclined. Thank you, everyone, for coming. It's been a busy year in Hutto. I think last year we were ranked the 13th fastest growing city, over 25,000 people in the United States. So we're going to try to get through 44 slides super quick because you guys really don't want to see that as much. You should probably want to see us get grilled by some questions. But this is our panelists, myself, our Mayor Pro Tem Thorton, and our City Manager Earp. This is our latest picture of our City Council. And I'd like to thank Councilmember Kolar and Councilmember Clark, who served, each had a term, and it ended last May. And so we had some changes on our council. We also had Councilmember Thompson, who recently moved out of the city limits, and so he served with us until the end of 2025. You guys hear me okay? No? How about now? All right. I also like to thank all of our volunteers. So to run a city, you can't just do it with staff, and you can't just do it with elected people. You have to do it with your boards and commission members. They're the ones that's giving you the insight from parks to the library board, all the intricacies of a city. We have all these boards. I think there's I put on over 50 members. It's like 54 different members that are serving right now, advising the city council, advising staff, and working hand in hand. So this past year, one of our highlights was we had the Out and About segment. We partnered with the Hutto Chamber, and we made it on the TV. It's a pretty good time. I think everybody hopefully got to see that. Some of us on council started calling this year the year of the road. Everybody on social media knows we need some roads expanded. We have $278 million in our bank. A big chunk of that goes to our wastewater. but we also have probably over 20-something projects currently in design in the city. Many of them are already funded, so as soon as the design is done, we can start construction. The biggest issue we have is that the city of Hutto doesn't own most of the right-of-way or the ability to just build any road. We have to work with TxDOT, we have to work with the railroad, we have to work with the county, we have to work with other private landowners to get the property. So unfortunately, it's not as easy as just designing a road, but hopefully the year road does not become a bust and we end up having people complain about the amount of cones out there. We had a community survey that was done, and so I'm not going to read everything on here, but one of the things we find in Hutto is, with all the complaints that we have, we're just people who want better for our families. But overall, the people of Hutto are actually very happy with our services. The one thing they're not happy with is roads. That's why we have the Year of the Road. So the big opportunities for us, the flow of traffic on city streets, to continue to work to compress our tax rate, reduce the tax burden, and to reduce the raising of our wastewater and water rates, basically to make Hutto more affordable. And so you can see here that Hutto outperformed the Texas region in 30 of 48 areas, and we had significantly higher ratings in 25 of them. We're real big on doing surveys in Hutto because we want to make sure if we're going to spend millions of dollars, we're spending it in the manner that the people of Hutto want, our constituents. So the last survey we did, I think it finished up at the end of the year, we had just over 2,000 responses. The biggest thing that people want, and I hear about on social media, no more food places, but the biggest thing people want is they want more food places. They want a steak restaurant, they want an Italian place, and they want a sushi and Japanese. So we're not working on any more fried chicken places, no more Mexican restaurants, sorry to our friends over there, but we're trying to diversify our food offering. People continue to move in. We have over 45,000 people who call Hutto home, and McDonald's and Mighty Fine and all that just doesn't do it for everybody every day. We also have places like with half of our residents are age 35 and younger. That also means the activities, things like Dave & Buster's, Punch Bowl Social, Main Event. We need more of those, so we're working on those. Children activities is becoming a big request. Again, it used to be if you were in Hutto 15 years ago, you just needed Julio's or you needed Mario's, you just needed a place to get a drink. Now, that doesn't work as well because people have kids. They want places for them to jump, burn off some energy. And then along with that, with 45,000 people, they want clothing stores. We have one grocery store. We love H-E-B, but we only have one grocery store. And so we're actively pushing to have it to where the complaint will be hopefully coming up, I have too many grocery options. Why did you guys do this? So we're going to keep pushing for all the things that people are wanting. And the last thing is a community rec center and pool. That is a thing that's on our 5-year CIP. We're trying to get through roads first. All right. This gets into some things I learned, KPIs and strategic plans. We actually have this weekend, we'll be updating our strategic plan as a council. And so since our city manager came on, when our city manager came to Hutto, we were operating a budget off an Excel spreadsheet. We really didn't have a CIP plan. We really didn't have a strategic plan. We called it a strategic plan, but it really wasn't anything. And what James has helped us do is become a lot more professional as a city. Now, it's taken a year or two to kind of set us back, because if you're trying to remember how to play football, you can't go out and win games and run the plays. Sometimes you got to go back to basics. James has brought us back to the basics, and from now we're starting to build a pretty good momentum forward. So 2026, we'll keep expanding our strategic plan, our KPIs, and we're putting a lot of this out for the public to see so that the public can grade us as elected officials and grade staff. This is just some of the things that we've done over the past year. We're real big into police. For those of you that are not in Hutto, that don't live here, we're very big supporters of first responders. With that, it's not just hiring people, it's making sure you pay them appropriately, and it's making sure they have the right training also. So we had over 10,000 training hours last year just for the Hutto Police Department. We started a thing called Hutto Solves It, and it's an app that it takes about 5 minutes. If you see a pothole, a street light out, stop sign missing, you can punch it in. We had over 700 of those cases closed. I might have been about 50 of those, and mine are not easy to close, but we're working hard on those. We've updated our water, wastewater, drainage master plans. Again, when you're growing as fast as we're growing, a plan that was done 3 years ago gets out of date very quickly, because now all of a sudden we may have 3,000 more homes being built in a section of the city we didn't think about or know about 2 or 3 years ago. And then we just did a wastewater and water study. And after that, we came out with a resolution as a council that we're going to focus on, that being the last increase we have in our rates. We changed the way we did some of our cash handling. I mentioned earlier we had $287 million. A lot of it's spoken for different projects. It used to be you wanted to do a $10 million road. We'd borrow $10 million, we'd put it in the side, and we'd wait for the road to be ready. Through better cash management with Alberta and her team, we've realized over $1 million in additional money earned just on the interest. And then this past year, we adopted a no new revenue tax rate while also increasing our reserves from 20% to 25%. So we're not just into not raising rates, it's also about long-term financial stability. So we continue to work on that. We have $7.8 million invested in road construction contracts, another almost $2 million in road maintenance. People in Hutto had never really hardly seen in the past few years road maintenance until about a year and a half ago, when we would shut down entire streets, have everybody move their cars off, all to resurface and to seal the roads. We just recently allocated $500,000 for a design plan for more parking in downtown. That's just step one of many steps to increase our parking, maybe almost like a tripling of it. We've had some pretty big companies, ASML, I'm not sure how to say that, Gracie, but I'm going to say Sion. Did I do good? All right. So we have some big companies who are starting to call Hutto home. We also started our Justice Center design. Our police station currently is our old Hutto City Hall. It wasn't big enough for our people then, and we maybe had 40 or 50 employees in. Now we have over 45 sworn officers that are trying to cram everything into a building that didn't fit when we had that many just for our regular staff. So we're looking at a major expansion. That'll be on the east side of town. That's in design. We also have our own independent emergency management program was officially established. We were under the county after we hired Jake and his team and gave them the tools they needed, the training. After a year, they've broken off and we have our own. Ever since we had Winter Storm Uri, one of the big things is we want to make sure we never have to go through that again in the city of Hutto. And so we put a lot of money into generators, winterization, training to make sure we learned our lessons and we won't go back there again. Then our parks. We had 95,000 visitors, quarterly visitors to our parks, and that's with one of our major parks completely closed down to reconstruction. So Fritz Park will be opening up here real soon. So we're seeing tremendous growth in our park usage, even with one of them down. The policies. Some people say, what's the point of a resolution? It's not legally binding, for those of you who don't know government. An ordinance is legally binding, a resolution isn't. But a resolution puts staff on notice and other elected officials that this is a path we're going down until we change a resolution. One of them was a water rate resolution where we resolved, I believe it was almost a unanimous decision on council, but we resolved to do everything we can in our future decisions to make sure we do not raise water and wastewater rates anymore, that what you pay now is the peak. And so if decisions cause rates to go up, we want the council to talk about them in an effort to, maybe we need to not do that decision. Hot fund, that is a big thing. When you see a hotel, that is money that's coming in that outsiders are paying to help your city. We adopted a sponsorship policy. We're trying to get the city to not pay for everything. That's why you saw a lot of companies here that graciously sponsored this event tonight. Normally you would have the city would pay for all that. And in order to do that, we're taking money and resources away from other programs. We have adopt and build trail policies, a fiscal and budgetary policy. We update our investment policy. And our newest one is an expedited permitting policy, all in an effort to where we're not having to pay people to come to Hutto. People are lining up. We want them to line up to come to Hutto because it's easier to do business in Central Texas, in Hutto, than it is anywhere else. Engineering. It feels like we didn't get any road projects done, but believe it or not, we did get some done. Kruger Boulevard, it's a $20+ million project, I believe, that goes to our mega site. It's a major investment that the EDC and the city of Hutto made. We finished 1660 in Limmer Loop on the north side of town, Exchange Boulevard in Limmer. We got that one done. And the Co-op Boulevard, we had a signal put in there that I know sometimes when it's in peak periods, you kind of wish the signal wasn't there, but it is saving lives, and that's kind of the point of some of this, is to make things safer. Our engineering department, we had a drainage master plan, a wastewater plan, and we got 3349 with the county's help. We made a big bridge look a little bit better by saying welcome to Hutto, and I think leaving Hutto. We also have, I won't read all these are all the projects we currently have that are in design and construction. And so you can see it's road, 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 road. Everything we're doing is focusing on roads in the city. Many of these are completely paid for and ready to go in terms of financing, so it's just a matter of getting the design caught up. This year, we have even more roads planned. So we have like Live Oak extending out to Ed Schmidt. We have 1660 and 137 on the south side. We have an intersection with Ed Schmidt and Live Oak. We're starting to work on a study on our frontage roads so we can have connectivity along our toll roads. And then up on the north side of town, up by the new high school, a signal and intersection work up there. Economic development. We had Project Skybox. They've started on building 4. That's coming along very fast. Innovation Business Park. We have our 7th building put in. You guys have seen Ironwood when you come into town. Building 2 and 3 are completed. And then ASML moved into town, right behind, I guess right in front of City Hall. We're also working, a big focus is our downtown. We have the potential to spend millions in downtown. And the first thing we're doing is parking. We're working with the Downtown Hutto Business Association to make sure decisions made are made in a manner that the businesses, the property owners, and the landowners all agree with. Instead of the city just saying this is a good idea, we want to have input. A partnership with everybody. And we're working on parking and street improvements on Pecan, Main, and West. And then we're also working to use our hot funds in an effort to reduce the need of property and sales tax for our events. And then also we're working on a deal to where some of our city events, we can include more nonprofits in them to where the nonprofits can benefit off the event. Cottonwood. That's always in the news ever since Perfect Game. We're still working to get that done. We are making progress, and we should have some pretty big announcements coming up this year. And we also have Project Sequel and Strat 3 that have been completed on the south side of 79. And then we continue to work with our small businesses like Story Emporium and Bookshop, Project Sprouts, the Paradigm Expansion, and Project Welcome Mat in an effort to selectively and efficiently use your tax money in an effort to grow the tax base. If there's a return on it, we want to spend it. If it's just to give the money away and we're not going to see a benefit to us, we're kind of slowing that down because we're realizing it's just not good business. And we'll let other cities partake in that. This is all the businesses that opened in the city of Hutto last year. This is all the businesses that are coming already just this year, and we're only in the first quarter. So things are booming in Hutto. Development services, we're wearing these people out. We've launched some new software. We have a reduction in our residential, but we're seeing a very steady increase in our commercial. And so it's just one lever's changing and another lever's getting caught up. But we're also, the big thing probably in development services is the revision that's upcoming with our UDC, which is kind of the, I would call it the Bible of development. We've really gone through, we had a subcommittee on council that went through and read literally every single word and questioned why we're doing what we do on every single thing that we're doing in an effort to really go, are the things we're expecting of the development community, is it really what the people of Hutto care about, what they want to know about? And if it's not, why are we running our developers through a ringer for them to go someplace else? And we continued as a gold status for our scenic city. I'm going too fast, let me know. All right, this is a kind of a funny slide. You can kind of see where we got into a problem. In 2019, we're doing 500 new homes a year. All right, we're figuring it out. Then we hit COVID, it spiked a little bit, and then all of a sudden we did almost 2,100 homes on a city that was just doing fine at 500. So with that 4X of homes, that got us very behind. Then you can see where interest rates hit in 2022. People kind of got used to it. And you see 2025 where kind of everything just kind of collapsed, which I don't know of anybody in Hutto that's upset, maybe you guys a little bit, but upset that the residential is slowing down just a little bit because staff wants to get caught up. We want to get our roads caught up. I mean, we're just behind. Now, on your multifamily side, it's kind of consistent. We're not actively pushing for more multifamily, but it is a thing that's zoned, and it will happen. And it is an important part to make sure you have a well-developed city is to have some multifamily in there. Here's our commercial. Now, 2024 is an outlier. You see that and you say, my God, how did they do 178? That is the SFR, single family for rent. We had one of those that came online. Those buildings are considered commercial in our city, so they fell in the commercial development permit. Otherwise, pretty consistent. 2026 is looking good. Here's a picture of street maintenance. So when we say we close something down, let's say you're in the top picture and you're in the aqua, all those roads get coned off and you have to park on another road and they go in, they completely reseal everything. It's a 2-day process. And so we're trying to do that in an effort to utilize our dollars better, maintain the roads today so that we're not rebuilding them tomorrow as quickly. And Rick and his guys got a problem because they only do it when it's hot outside and nobody's ever happy when they're doing it. So I feel for those guys. We've done 1.5 miles of downtown have been resurfaced and restriped. We're not done, there's more coming. We worked with our developers at the co-op. We got the gin building up and going. We did some sound study improvements at the central wastewater treatment plant. Everybody can hear it when it's like 10 degrees and silent at night. Then they can hear it humming, so we worked on that. Working on water towers, putting one of them back in Old Town, back into service. Frame switch, that's a very powerful pump we found out a week ago, and so when it came online, it stirred up a lot of iron sediment, but I don't think anybody knows this. It came back online Monday, but now it's all clear, so we're good. And then we have a street sweeping schedule that we're hitting people up, trying to keep everything cleaned up. A lot of our projects here for our Public Works Department that are coming online this next year that we're working on. Public Works doesn't get a lot of love because you don't see the work that they're doing. As long as your toilet's flush and your water comes out of your sink, you're happy, right? But without them working all the time, you wouldn't have the water pressure to even get your sprinkler heads to turn on. Our audits, this has changed a lot. Like I said, 5 years ago, some of us were on council questioning what we were doing. And we didn't know until James came on board that we were literally writing a budget on an Excel spreadsheet. That's pretty good if you're running a small business. But if you run a city, it's probably not the best way to do that. If you're ever looking at doing that, I would advise against it. So we've invested in our finance department. Alberta, our director of finance, is doing a great job. We're starting to get awards. We got 3 transparency stars last year, and so we keep pushing to do better. There's our finance team. There's the transparency stars. I think there's 5 of them, I think, right, Alberta? But only one of them deals with pensions. All right, this is our fiscal responsibility. Everybody knows how I am about no new revenue. So since 2020, we've seen a 38.8% decrease in our city tax rate. With that, we've only twice passed a voter-approved tax rate. Every other time, it's been no new revenue or below. With that, we still have almost $300 million in the bank to fund our current projects that are in design. That's not to say we're never going to be able to not go to a path we never have, a tax increase. It just means that we're literally questioning every single thing we do as a city to go, does this help our constituents and taxpayers? If the answer is no, we start asking, why do we have it? If it does help them, it makes us more efficient, we're investing in it. And so what you're seeing is, I think we're one of the only cities in Central Texas that so far has been able to do this. So that's resulted in, when you have a tax rate, the average person has a tax rate of 2.16. The city of Hutto is 38 cents of that. We represent about 18%. So I've been told before, it's such a small amount. Why are you worried about it? Because it really isn't going to make that much of a difference. I don't think that's the point in being a good steward of people's finances. I think what that means is that someone has to work on it. And I think everybody has their own challenges in every department and every taxing entity. And I don't know everybody else's as well as I know the city of Hutto. And as long as we focus on the city of Hutto, I'm not worried about everybody else as much. Police department, 54 officers. I think I said 45. We've now gone up to 54. That tells you how fast we're growing. We started a traffic enforcement division. And we're not out trying to bust more people on DUIs when you leave here, but we do have a traffic enforcement division, and they have doubled their DUI busts year over year. So I think with any growing city, we have to make sure everybody's safe. And with that, most of the people we're stopping don't live in Hutto, they're passing through Hutto. Safest city, there's 100 different ways to measure this, and we're all over the board. Sometimes we're number 3 in this one. Of course, I'm going to pick the number 3 one. Others were number 10, we're number 12. But overall, what Chief Yarborough has been able to do, if you lived in Hutto, say 5 or 6 years ago, we had some real problems. We had at one point 80-something% of our officers were ready to walk off the job and leave the city of Hutto. Now we have people who are quitting other departments and are coming to Hutto. We're dramatically increased their pay, dramatically increased their training, and what that's allowed us to do is we're getting really big results. Emergency management, we talked about Jake. Parks and Rec, we talked about that some. We have Fritz Park that's getting ready to open. We're doing a lot of improvements in our parks because, again, we have half of our residents are under the age of 35. 5th year in a row, we've got Tree City USA Award. So you can have development and get awards from people who love trees. It's not a one way or the other. Nope, I must have gone ahead one. Apologize. All right, now we got the library. 65,000 books checked out, so people that think the libraries are not exist anymore, they are still being used, and that one there is very busy. We're already working on an expansion of the library coming up on our CIP. We also have a big Hutto Library Fund, Friends. So if you have a couple $1 million and you don't know what to do with it, we do have a nonprofit that will help the library grow. We are looking for contributions. We talked about Hutto Solve It. We just started a chat bot. I think it's called Hippo Bot, if I'm remembering that right. And so we continue to try to use technology and other improvements to kind of improve the experience of our city without costing our taxpayers a lot of money. Hutto ISD, if you're growing a city with residents, you got to grow your schools. They opened up Lee Martinez Elementary School, the second high school in the north side of town is under construction. And while they're doing that, they're also upgrading and expanding high school number 1 that's just on the main of our city. So this is an old picture. If you go look at it now, you can't even recognize it. It looks completely updated and much bigger. Along with the growth, our ESD, another taxing entity that serves us, they opened up Fire Station 4 in December. They're already working on Fire Station 5 next to the second high school. And just Monday, they opened up their fire admin building. So they, if I remember correctly, where they are officing, Debbie had to correct me, but where they're officing now, I think was our city hall or something like 20 years ago, right? Maybe I'm wrong. But whatever they're in, it's extremely small. And so you can't run 5 fire stations out of a small building. So they had to have some expansions. And so I'll finish up with this. What's the impact? I think you all know what the impact is. It's road congestion. It's an increase in demand and services. And that's why we continue to focus on roads, infrastructure improvements. It's also an increase on social needs. You can't just grow a city and then forget about the social aspect. You have the Hutto Resource Center, Madeline Sandbox. You have the American Legion for our veterans. We have a multitude of nonprofits that we're actively trying to support in an effort to make sure that with the growing city, we don't leave everybody behind that maybe wasn't part of the development, that didn't sell land, that didn't move here with a big paying job. There are people in Hutto who, no fault of their own, they've been here for 20 or 30 years, and all of a sudden, home prices have doubled, everything's changed, and they're just trying to keep up. And so social services is big, and then our new public safety station, that'll probably be the biggest thing over the next couple years is building that. So that concludes the state of the city. Hope we didn't disappoint you. What we're going to do here is we're going to prepare for the Q&A. It's going to be probably about a 45-minute question and answer. In the meantime, I'd like to introduce to you all Marques. You want to come up too, Jasmine? Yeah, Jasmine and Marques. You got to come up. Jasmine didn't know I was going to call her up, but you are his sister. So they're with Aimley. We appreciate their sponsorship of our event and the good stuff that they're doing for the nonprofit community. So I'll let you guys talk about that, and we'll get set up for our Q&A.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Sure. Hello, good evening, everyone. We'll keep it to 5 minutes or less. And Jasmine, you want to speak?
I'll let you do.
Awesome. Cool. Well, hey, we are excited to be the sponsor here tonight. My name is Marques Zahir. This is my sister, Jasmine. If you haven't seen the popcorn and the chips on the table, we actually founded this company together. So this was me, my sister, Jasmine, and my mother, Debbie. We actually started Aimley 5 years ago, and we were trying to come up with a product that would help people raise money for things they're passionate about. So one of the key things that we are most engaged with are fundraising for things like schools, PTAs, soccer, cheer, any type of sports. And then also recently we've been getting a lot with fraternities and sororities. And I found out about Hutto many years ago when Jasmine moved to Hutto, and we decided to open up our facility in Round Rock. So Jasmine has been living in Hutto for several years. And then about, I think 6 or 7 months ago, I was on our Facebook, and I had asked Jasmine to start posting on social media every day. So she was posting, and I can see on our Aimley account who's liking or engaging with our post. And I saw a like and a comment from the mayor of Hutto, and I said, wait a minute, what? So checked on there, looked on his page, and I said, Jazz, how do you know him? And Jasmine was bartending at the time, serving at the time with this establishment over here. And she said, yeah, I know the mayor, he comes in all the time. And I thought, well, that would be cool for us to figure out how we can support the city. And Jazz, I think she told me, hey, one day the mayor came in and he helped me pack orders, and this was before we really started to hit velocity. So I was searching on Hutto, saw that you guys had this event, and I'm actually I live in Chandler, Arizona, so we host a lot of the city's activities there as well. So I said it makes sense for us to support Hutto. So we are, if you look on the back of the bags of the popcorn or the chips, there's a QR code to our website. If you know anybody that's doing fundraising, please consider us. And then we also do sponsorship. So we sponsored the event here tonight. We've also sponsored some really big organizations over the last year. And we're excited. Hopefully you enjoy the product. The popcorn is new. I was thinking of doing a taste test like the CEO have you guys seen that McDonald's CEO doing his half-hearted taste test of the burger? I actually do like our products. I tried our popcorn for the first time today, and I had to ask Jasmine to take the bag away from me because I could not stop eating it. So hopefully you enjoy it. I think there's some on the table, and we've got plenty of fresh products off to the box as well. But this was great to witness. Jazz, anything you want to share, add?
I don't.
You're going to always be nervous unless you get up. But hey, we appreciate the opportunity to be a sponsor, and we'll hand it back over to the mayor.
All right, everyone, we're going to get into our panel and Q&A. We are a little limited on time, so I'm going to do my best to get through as many questions as I can. As you guys know, let me try to get prepared here. Our panel consists of the mayor, Mr. Mike Snyder, our city manager, Mr. James Earp, city council member and mayor pro temp, Mr. Dan Thorton. We have received, through the Hutto Area Chamber of Commerce, several questions for tonight's panel. Rest assured, the panel has not seen these questions beforehand, and I would do my best to get through them in a timely manner. Gentlemen, there are no formal rules, so you're okay on that end.
I told Billie to please have them, we don't want them ahead of time. We want tough questions because if people want tough answers brought back.
I think it'll be pretty challenging. Like to limit, because we are definitely going to be limited on time, try to limit every answer roughly to about 2 minutes or so. If there is time for a follow-up, we'll do that. And if we do have some time, we'll try to get some questions from the actual audience. Okay, gentlemen. As you know, the city of Hutto has been growing for quite a long time. It's always been a gem. People have recognized it. You can go out to Highway 79, drive through here, and see it. Now, with that said, as a banker, I've been out there, talking to many small businesses, manufacturers, many of the businesses in the trades, and one of the subjects that they really have brought up this year is, believe it or not, infrastructure is still a big subject, but workforce. So, gentlemen, let's begin. Here, I'd like to begin with the question in reference to workforce and education alignment. Gentlemen, Mike, you will start. How is the city aligning and supporting education and workforce development to ensure employers can attract and retain the talent that is needed for the city of Hutto?
I think from our standpoint, what we've been doing is the Hutto EDC, I believe, gives $250,000 a year to TSTC. The city of Hutto gives $250,000 a year. We work with them because they're the ones that, I think from the state, that does a good job in terms of workforce development. We've also had initial conversations with Temple College splitting off. How can we partner with Temple College and help them expand in the city of Hutto in an effort to, train more people, educate more, and give more of our kids and more of our people that want to increase their productivity in the workforce to be able to do that.
James?
Oh, this is each of us answered the same question. Okay, I got it.
Yes, sir. We want to hear
All
from
right,
all of you.
I love it. So there's a couple different things that happen with workforce development. The most obvious one that everyone should immediately go to is the existence of the Texas State Technical College here in Hutto at the East Williamson County Higher Education Center. That is the TSTC that the mayor was referring to, that would not be here if the city did not contribute dollars. Now, that particular college is actually specifically designed for workforce development, meaning that they will go talk to the businesses, the manufacturers, and ask what the needs are for the skills for the workforce, and they will tool their educational programs to meet the needs of our workforce that's here. That's, to me, the most obvious, but there's also our own internal economic development corporation and the staff in there. They work with the various different employers to kind of understand what their needs are, and all the way down to entry level at the high school. There's even conversations with the ISD about, what can we do for various different types of workforce development programs. So there's a plethora of things that are going on.
Well, you guys pretty much covered all the topics. I would add.
You get to go first next time.
Yeah, I would add. You and I are missing a meeting of the school district long-range facilities planning committee right now, and this is an item that has come up in those meetings so far. Is how do we improve our education for our kids and get them ready for the jobs that are coming, and what can we do to partner with the employers? And that starts in the school district, but it needs to be working with the city and economic development in partnership to make those connections and to set up those programs. and also get the investment from the employers into the school system so that it's not a burden on the taxpayers. So those are things that we need to be focused on going forward.
Well, thank you. And it is pretty evident, you can see in the city of Hutto right now that the city and the community are working together to make sure that workforce is available. So we greatly appreciate that from you, gentlemen. Our second topic of the evening would be in reference to staffing and internal capacity. As some of us know, there has been some turnover at the city, and of course there's been some recruitment at the city. Therefore, the question that we have for you this evening is, with the recent turnover, and James, you can start off with this one. With the recent turnover in key roles such as engineering and zoning, how is the city recruiting and retaining top professionals, and how are timelines being maintained in the interim?
That's actually a well-informed question. So I don't know which one of y'all seeded that one, but okay. So what he's referring to is within the last 60 days or so, our city engineer has resigned and taken another position. Our director of development services has resigned and taken a different position. A capital project manager engineer resigned and took another position. And our chief building official resigned and took another position. So that is pretty much like the top brass of the development wing. And it's a valid question, like what do you do whenever those things happen? We've also had a couple of inspectors, construction inspectors for roads and water and wastewater, not building inspectors for houses. We've had a couple of those folks resign as well. So what do we do? Well, as a manager, as a leader of the organization, the first thing that you have to do is attempt to identify, is it a cultural misalignment? Is it some direction of the community is going? Is it just that the people themselves are growing and pursuing additional opportunities? So we identify that. And then the real question is, what do you do to keep things moving in those areas? Well, we've done a number of things. First and foremost, I basically redeployed staff over there as a supplement to engineering department to assist them in understanding their processes. And then we are looking for bringing in staff augmentation. And what that looks like is, say we had 5 inspectors and we lost 2 of them. So we're looking for third-party folks to come in who can do inspections in order to be able to keep at the pace that we're at. And then, so that's just an example, but we're doing that with project management, we're doing that with construction inspection, and effectively we are augmenting our staff with third-party in the immediate time frame while we recruit. But arguably, the other thing that we had to do is we had to start asking questions about what are we not going to do, right? If we have to stop doing certain things or slow down some processes, is it going to be the ones that affect the people who are already in the pipeline, or is it going to be the folks who hadn't even started yet? And where we ended up was, and council's already heard this, I don't think this is the first time they're going to hear it. What we're effectively doing is slowing down the capital projects that we're starting because we have so many that are already operating. So I kind of took the bulk of that, but I don't know that these two wanted to take that question, but I'm happy to pass the mic, so we'll see.
The only other thing I would add is that, Hutto has 220 employees, and I think Round Rock has 1,500. And so people want a place to grow and succeed and to move up. And we're not going to have, our city is not designed to have 4 or 5, 6 assistant city managers. Other cities have 4 or 5 because they're bigger. One of the things I've seen in my day job is that when you go around Central Texas, there are many people I communicate with and work with that at some point have been in the city of Hutto. Sometimes they were a planning manager and now they're a planning director. Sometimes they were a planning director and now they're an assistant city manager. So they're moving up and they're going throughout the whole metro area. Sometimes it's pay with unemployment rates being like they are. I think we're like 4.3%. I mean, they're in high demand. And if anybody in the development world said, oh, I haven't had any issues with engineer turnover, they're lying to you. I mean, it is a very hot job market. And the question you have to ask yourself is, how much can you afford to pay to keep somebody when if the private world is willing to pay, say, $400,000 a year for an engineer, are you able to pay that same way, and is the public going to do that? Or how do we find a way to where a person can make less money but have less of a workload, maybe not have to put as many hours in, and how do we supplement that? So I think that's what James is alluding to, is there's a lot of things we got to do. I wish it was an easy answer. Sometimes it's great news when they leave, because they're going to be in a city manager somewhere. And we did just see one city lose a bunch of people to another city, and we've lost some people to that city, and so it kind of starts this cycle around. And all I can ask is that hope that they do good in their next job, and maybe we'll see them come back as they left as an engineer and they come back as an assistant city manager. Not that I want Matt to leave anytime soon, but people are coming back around, and some of these people we've had work for us other times at a lower position. So,
Dan, you want to comment?
Yeah, I think this is a pattern that you see in various industries. You see this in college football coaches, where you're a successful coach in a smaller school, and then you get a shot at a bigger school. And here, Pflugerville's bigger than us. They had a lot of trouble keeping people. They needed new people. We had people who were experienced and ready to grow. And guess what? Pflugerville went and grabbed a couple of them. That's going to happen. That's kind of a normal part of the cycle. And it's unfortunate for us that we lose people like that. We do need to be mindful of keeping track of where the market is. And there are certain jobs that we have to pay a little bit more for just to get people in and keep them here. But we can't do that across the board. So we really have to target that and be smart with how we allocate that money.
Thank you. Now, what would a state of the city be without a question in reference to infrastructure? That's always a gem. In the city of Hutto, in terms of infrastructure, which infrastructure investments are the most critical to supporting business growth, and how is the city prioritizing, funding, and sequencing those projects? Dan, you can start.
I think water and wastewater are the most critical in Central Texas in general, and it's hard to get it right. We need to have enough capacity to grow, but if we have too much capacity, then everybody here is paying for that capacity, and the cost of it just skyrockets. And so trying to balance where the growth is going to be and where the growth in our capacity is one of the biggest challenges. How we pay for that, how much we can put on the developers. I know a lot of citizens think that we can just make the developers pay everything for the new infrastructure, and that's just not how the law works. That's not how any of it works. And we can't put all the infrastructure in first, because then we can't pay for it. And if the growth doesn't come, then we're in real trouble. So it's a difficult balancing act, and we don't always get it right, but we keep trying to get better at it.
Mike?
So I agree a lot with what Dan said. We talked about this Saturday. We had a meeting, and everything you want done in the city, someone has to pay for. So some people think it's free. If we just have, if the city would put it in, well, then the taxpayers pay for it. If a developer pays for it, then the people who move in that neighborhood pay for it. Or if the retail is there, the retail has a higher cost when you go there. And so I would say that water and wastewater is probably the most important, because if you can't flush your toilet, then you're done developing. If you can't have water come through, you're done developing. Congestion on roads is terrible, and everybody hates it. But out of the three, that's the one that if you had to push something due to finances or whatever the case is, that's the one you can push, and people will wait in line. But I can't imagine a city where you couldn't flush a toilet or use water. Now, with that, one of the things the city council has really been mindful of is water usage. The big debate in Central Texas is data centers. I personally don't have an issue with the data centers we're doing in Hutto. The ones we're doing, we have made absolutely sure to not to put words in the city manager's mouth, but like if we have to, we can shut the water off and put concrete in the pipe if they use more water than what they have been allowed through their requests and through their service to use. What that's done is the world's evolved. The old data centers were extremely, let everybody catch that? The old days of data centers used a significant amount of water. We're using, our data centers are closed loop, and out of the 3 buildings that's currently operating or about to be operating in Hutto, each one, I believe, is supposed to be using the equivalent of 4 homes worth of water every month. And so we took a city that was $5.5 billion in value. We added over $5 billion in value with those 3 buildings. So we doubled the value of basically the tax base of Hutto, and we're using 12 homes worth of water every single month. And so to me, that's a good investment. It's high-paying jobs. It barely uses any water. It barely has any traffic on the roads. And it doesn't use any wastewater. And so it's basically a doubling. It's almost free money. I wish the buildings looked a little bit better. I've actually talked to them that why do you got to put the weird graphics on them? It just kind of sticks out. But you're either going to have high taxes, or you're going to have to look at ways to reduce them. And to me, some of these things is what we're doing.
James, you want to comment?
I mean, I don't know that I would say anything terribly different. The reality is that roads generally give us, the most opportunity and excitement for exchange with the public. But the reality also is that if you go out there and look at that road at 10 o'clock at night, there's hardly any traffic on it at all. That is a very big capital expense for a road. They're necessary, but like 79 specifically, it's the peak hours, and we all know it because we're all stuck in it together, assuming that you live in Hutto or you're coming through Hutto. It's the peak hours, and that's always a challenge for the elected officials, is trying to figure out how much is the right amount to invest in an asset that is really designed for peak usage, and the rest of the time it's just capital that's sitting there not really performing it the way that it needs to. However, while that may be the thing that causes the most friction on social media, the moment that everybody had brown water, everyone cared about that suddenly, right? So I would also say that water is number 1, wastewater is number 2, and roads are number 3 from a perspective of like logistics. But I would say that the things I hear the most about are transportation projects. And our CIP, which the mayor talked through, shows that the bulk of our capital projects that we're building right now are transportation oriented. That doesn't mean that we're forsaking water or wastewater. It just means that that's where our focus is at this point in time. And the water and wastewater projects are supply related, or we need additional elevated storage, that sort of stuff. So that's how I would answer the question.
Well, thank you. No, great job, guys. Greatly appreciate that. Our next topic is in reference to competition, competitiveness. We all have the luxury of some living and, of course, working in Williamson County. And one of the things that I've seen in Williamson County, and I give them kudos for this, is that they're really good at working well together. Every city within the county respects the other cities and work very well together. Therefore, that is why you see Williamson County as being one of the most robust regions, not only in the state of Texas, but also in the country. But we also know that cities need to have access to businesses to come in and perhaps land themselves here to create what the city actually needs. So the next question is in reference to competition. Specifically, what actions will the city take to improve competitiveness for business attraction and expansion, and how will success be measured? Mike, you can start.
Let's say when I joined council back in 2019, one of the things that we used to do as a city, if Round Rock was starting to get a project, we would try to steal that project from Round Rock. And I'm of the opinion, if Round Rock lands somebody big or Taylor lands Samsung, how can we benefit off of that? And we should be helping our cities do well, because when they do well, we're going to do well. All these big companies have suppliers, they have other type of uses that help support them. And so I think the biggest thing we can do is, one, focus on Hutto, focus on our impact fees. That's a big driver of development. We can focus on our tax rate. That's a driver, our wastewater rates. All those little things that we can work on to make sure we're using the money the most efficient way that we can, I think is what's going to drive a lot of the development. The other part is, we hit on it earlier in the slide deck, was to make sure our permitting process is simplified. Central Texas has got to be one of the most, I'm trying to think of a polite word to say, it's the most difficult section of Texas I have ever done business in, and I've done business in every major metropolitan area of Texas. I don't know what it is. It's just a Central Texas thing. South Carolina, no one's dying in South Carolina, but you know what? They have a simplified process. One of the things we're trying to do, we mentioned, was really go through our UDC and really ask staff. Sometimes we're in disagreement. Sometimes they're going, you know what, that's a good point. Or they're explaining to us why that is an important thing to have in our UDC. But to go through this code and find out what really is it that we need to have. One of them, and I forget the terminology, James can say it, when it comes to plating in Central Texas, it's a freaking nightmare. And one of the things we just want is someone to be able to get a legal lot like the state wants you to have in 30 days. And so we have a process coming through. It hasn't been adopted by the council, so it could change a little bit. But it's to get the developer what they need without sacrificing what the city of Hutto needs and what the people need to make sure it's good development, but to help get some of these roadblocks, to look at them at a different way, to where my hope is that people will come and next time they go to Georgetown, they'll say, can you do it like Hutto does it? Can you do it like Round Rock does it? And we're not there yet, but I know this, we're pushing harder than those cities are. And so I think as long as the business community realizes that we are listening, we are trying to figure out the way to make it simpler and more efficient, I think that's going to be our most competitive advantage.
Yeah.
James? Dan?
I think that it's very important to target the incentives that we offer in a couple of different ways. The first primarily is making sure that there is an economic benefit to it. We don't want to be just saying, oh, if we give 10% more, we'll beat Round Rock. That doesn't do us any good. We need to find things that are unique here, that bring value here, and then incentivize those and bring them in. That's what happened with Skybox. That was an opportunity that we had, and that is going to benefit the city, the ISD, the ESD, the county. So it's really going to help everybody out. And then the other thing we need to target is occasionally and less often, we need to target quality of life for Hutto. The biggest example of that is right around here, Hookie Entertainment, Academy, some of these businesses that we didn't have anything in those categories in the city, and so we as a council decided it was worth incentivizing those to come in where we might not normally incentivize retail as often as that. But in those cases, sometimes it makes sense.
Battery's dead.
So I would say mostly on the third point that he made, which was quality of life. You have to have a community that people want to be a part of. You have to have a community that people want to live in. You have to have a community that people believe and desire to raise their children in. If you can be safe, if you can have a good education opportunities, if there's nice places for people to go and do stuff, those are the sorts of things that people look at, and then they look at housing. Is there a housing opportunity for us? The best thing that we can do to be competitive is you guys, everybody out there in the audience. That's the best thing that we can do to be competitive, in my opinion, based off what these guys have already covered, and that is opportunities for for development, opportunities for people to be involved, opportunities for families to feel like this is a place that they want to be. Your home is where your heart is. Sure, they say that, but it's also where you spend your money, right? It's also where you shop, the relationships that you build, the neighbors that you know, all of that. So that's what I would say.
Thank you, gentlemen. Gentlemen, we are basically running out of time, so we have time for one more question. I have purposely left this question for last, and it's in reference to collaboration. Throughout the years since I've been a board member, and I'm going on my 6th year, my last year, I'll be leaving in September. One of the things that we've been talking about and hearing throughout these 6 years, 7 years now that I've been coming in and out of Hutto, is how does the city and the chamber find a way to work together for the betterment of the city and the community? James, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. Well, arguably the very first thing that happened whenever I walked in the door here was, James, you need to go improve relationships with the chamber, right? And to a degree, I feel like we've accomplished that in, I guess I'm almost 4 years now. So I feel like we've accomplished that. The chamber has certainly opened up their arms and their doors to me and staff. I've gone over and spoken to the board a number of times. Cheney and some of the folks in economic development are actually members and participate. Christy, I think, is an ambassador. So we have a number of staff liaison back and forth to give opportunities. Billie and the folks over there have been doing a really good job reaching back out across. We talk about different events and opportunities to partner there. Where I think the next phase of that growth is on our part is, and I'm talking about from the staff perspective, not the political perspective, but from the staff perspective is really aligning our efforts. So like we have efforts that reach out to the business community. The chamber has efforts that reach out to the business community. So we've been talking about how we align those and how we leverage those even better. So to me, it's really about being in the sandbox and playing with the same toys. That's how we learn how to collaborate, and just having those opportunities to interact with one another. So
Why don't you wrap up?
Yeah, I would say communication is always key. One of the things that has really improved my view of what the chamber is doing is getting regular quarterly updates in our city council meetings so we understand what's going on. Collaboration on events is one that there's an opportunity going forward to really grow our events. And one of the ways we need to do that as a city is by bringing our businesses more into those events so that we can maximize the impact of the events without throwing a whole lot of tax dollars into them. We want to share the investment in the community. So I think that's a key. And we just have to keep working at it. I mean, it's not going to magically turn into a perfect environment overnight. It's gotten a lot better, I think, in the last couple of years, and we need to keep working on it.
So I was recently on a trip with 3 guys that were high school friends, been together for 30 years. And I listened to them all week, and what I heard a few times was through that 30 years, they didn't always see eye to eye. There were times when one didn't talk to the other one. There was times where 2 of them didn't talk to one, but at the end of the day, they were high school friends. They were like blood brothers. I look at the chamber and the city kind of like that in a way, to where you can't go through 30 years and go, we've never had an issue. I think it boils down to communication, but the biggest part of communication isn't always the talking. A lot of times it's the listening. It's the understanding, why does a chamber feel a certain way? Really, I look at it like elected people in the city are there to serve not just the chamber from the business standpoint, but also the other taxpayers, the other citizens. And so we need to do more listening and understand what are we doing that's causing frustrations and friction on the business community. It's easy to say it's taxes, but sometimes we have competing programs. Sometimes we may have, instead of maybe supporting the chamber, we're out competing with the chamber. And I think what we've really gone over the last year or so is really looked at how can we help different organizations. And it's something that James brought up, I forgot what it's called, over the last month and a half. The council's even been looking at, even from our city events, how can we work with nonprofits, whether it be the chamber or other groups, how can we work with them and help support them, and can they take over some of these programs? It's not that the city's doing a bad job, but the city's limited, our employees are working on the weekends. Like tonight, normally to say the city, it's all put on by employees. And so staff works during the day to make sure they get the stuff out on time, and then they're supposed to come and work the evening. And I had several staff members come up tonight and say, what do you need from me? And I was like, nothing, and go get a drink and relax. Because at some point you have to enjoy, the fruits of your labor. So I would say the biggest thing is never take the relationship for granted. Always try to improve it, and always ask what we can do better for you all, and to listen and not get offended by it. And just, most people that know me know I like really good conversations and very direct, and I don't get mad. I may, say something back that's just as direct, but I think that's a good conversation. I think the more that we've been able to have that since you've been on, then I think there's a lot of things that we've realized that, there's things the city could do better to support. There's things the city could stop doing because it's not as supporting as we thought. And I think what we've done is created an environment to where we're not where we should be. It's not where we want to be. Hopefully we never say we're where we want to be. But where we're at is in a phase to where we're constantly trying to help each other out and work together. And I think tonight was a great example to where, I mean, since I've lived in Hutto, we have never had a chamber involved. We've only had one state of the city since I've been in Hutto. And this one here, we're coming together. We're together helping another organization. And so if the Downtown Business Association can do well and grow, that's going to help the chamber. If the chamber grows and their business people grow, that's going to help us. If we have very successful businesses, we can actually tax people less because the businesses are more sales tax. They're expanding on their own. They're dragging in other people and saying, you got to come to Hutto. And so I think we just got to keep working at it and never be satisfied with whatever progress we've made.
Well, I agree. I want to thank you three gentlemen for your time this evening and for answering these questions with the time that we did have. But I do want to personally thank all three of you because for the last 2 years, I have been going up to the council and giving the quarterly reports. And to this date, you guys have not beat me up while I'm there. So thank you so much. And for everyone in the audience,
thank you, everyone.
very much for attending. Last words?
Thanks for coming out. Thanks for the support. Thanks to the people that came here, table sponsors. Aimley, if you didn't try their chips, try them. Just put a plug in. I've ate a few chips in my life. So with that, we'll wrap it up. Some of us at the foundation have to start kind of putting stuff away, and the Y's about to take our mics from us. But if you want to hang around, I think to probably get one more drink out of Leah. Otherwise, drive home safely, and we'll see you later.
Thank you, guys, and be safe.